Rabbi Dollin, may I ask you a question while we're getting ready?
Okay, talk again.
Mel Coffee here, Rabbi.
Hello, this is David.
Say hello again.
Rabbi, can you hear us?
Can you hear Mel Coffee, Rabbi?
Ask David if he can hear you.
Rabbi bounced off. Hold on one second. I think Rabbi has to reconnect. Just be patient.
David there?
That's James at the H.
Yeah, Rabbi's getting back on the call. Let's.
Ask.
Here he is. All right.
You.
Rabbi, can you hear us?
Can you hear Mel Coffee? No. And I don't hear them.
Rabbi, can you hear us?
Hi, James.
Okay, good. I think, Harold, did you have a
Are you
question?
still on, James?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Ask if he can hear you.
Rabbi, can you hear me?
Can you hear Mel Coffee?
James, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Ask if you can hear no coffee. And he asked if you.
Can you
How's
hear
that?
Mel Coffee?
Just hear Mel Coffee?
Yeah, okay, so you can
James,
hear.
I'm having trouble getting the text up
Good.
on share. Not sure why.
Okay, bye.
Can everybody else hear me?
Yes.
'Cause I can't hear anyone. Harold, you want to unmute and just let me know that you're hearing me?
I was unmuted. I am unmuted.
I am too.
Oh, he can
I
hear you.
am. Can you hear me?
How about you, Jay? Can you hear me?
I'm unmuted.
Wow. Oh, I know it's the problem. Okay, got it.
Ask
Okay, now I can hear everybody.
Good.
James, could you share the Pirkei Avot?
Yes.
Ask if they can hear you.
Well, they said yes.
Mel, I can hear you.
Okay.
I got you.
Good. And I can hear you. Good.
Okay. I was just waiting for the text to come on the screen. There it is. All right, we're on Mishnah 11 for a quick review of that. Okay. All right, so everybody should be on mute until we are able to ask some questions because I'm getting a little bit of echo. Okay. Okay, we got David on, Hannah, although I don't see you. Have Mel on, Harold, Jay, and James, I think, is on as support. Okay, so take a look at the text on your screen. Just give me we see it, we hear you. Yeah, okay, Harold, David, okay, and Bianca is on as well. All right, let's take a look because we talked about this last week. So we're going to go over it pretty quickly, but we didn't really go to those last two phrases. So Avtalion Omer says, Hachamim hizaharu b'divrechem, shema tachuvu chovat galut, v'tiglu l'makom mayin ra'im. So sages, be careful with your words, right? And we're talking about not just sages, but judges as well, lest you incur the penalty of exile. And as I mentioned last week, if you were to kill somebody inadvertently or like manslaughter, in biblical times, you'd have to go to a city of refuge so that the dead man's relatives wouldn't come out to be able to kill you, which was a kind of common practice in biblical times. You kill my relative, I'm going to kill you. So they'd send them to cities of refuge, and they would have to stay there for a number of years before they could come out. So sages, be careful with your words, lest you incur the penalty of exile. In other words, lest you lead somebody astray inadvertently by your unclear words. And that could be very serious. That could create heresy. That could be justification for acts of evil. So it's kind of like killing somebody by being sloppy with your words. And that's why you would have a penalty of exile. That's what they mean by that. Okay. And be carried off to a place of evil waters. That connection, hold on just a second here. Evil waters, just looking at my note, evil waters is a reference to heresy. So you're sloppy in your words and you might end up leading someone astray to think and propagate incorrect belief, which could in its serious form move to heresy. And that's what Mayim Ra'im means. Okay, Vayishtu hatalmidim habaim acharechem v'yamutu. Right, so the disciples who follow you will drink and die. Right, so if you're a leader, everything you say is going to be listened to. Right? That's why it's so anxiety provoking when I get up there in front of the congregation and give a sermon, because people are usually listening. I like to think that they are listening to me. And I've got to be careful with what I say. Right? If I get political for some reason, partisan, what that's like. You probably don't appreciate it. I have a pretty horrible kiddush when I get a little bit political or seem partisan in any way, because that has an influence. And that makes a difference. People are listening. So in a sense, your followers are drinking up everything that you say, right? And it could be evil waters that they drink, leading to heresy, right? And in a sense, becoming a heretic is like dying. So you drink up what the scholar is saying, and you can lead you astray, and in a certain sense, heresy, which Judaism looks at that as actually dying, or dying from the faith. Okay, and thus, v'nimtza shem shamayim mitchalel. Thus, the name of heaven becomes profaned. Right, so there is a concept in Judaism, chilul Hashem. That's what the word mitchalel is. Chilul Hashem, and that's when a Jew does something inappropriate or against the law or evil, that it makes all Jews look bad. And it makes God, in that sense, look bad. So it's a little bit more serious than just some Jew breaking the law. right? Especially if they're a scholar or a leader in some way, or wealthy and prominent. Anything that a Jew does, the other Jews around the country and the world are saying, oh my God, this can't be right. This is a prominent Jew doing something evil. Whether it's abusing an employee, shady kind of financial deals, all the way to perverse acts, anything that makes the Jewish community look bad, is an affront, not just to the Jewish people, but to God. Now, it's interesting to note that, I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago and before that, a Jew did something wrong and the whole community would cringe. But I find it interesting to note that these days, Jews are so much a part of the community and the society that we've become a little bit frozen in our feelings about Jews doing improper things. It's not so crazy anymore. And sometimes, I don't know, Bernie Madoff cheated not just non-Jews, but many Jews and their nonprofits, which caused untold problems with nonprofits that were going broke, or with other Jews that invested with him. But I don't know if you can remember as well as I don't think the fact that he was Jewish was so prominent in the news. Almost as though Jews are just a part of society, and they do evil things, not because they're Jewish, or it's not an affront to the Jewish people like Hilul Hashem was in the past. And I don't know, maybe we can hear from you a little bit about how you felt about a Bernie Madoff or some of the other Boski, prominent wealthy Jews who broke the law, and they ended up going into jail. Very serious thing. I know the Ivan Boski scandal, the library at the Jewish Theological Seminary was donated mostly by Ivan Boski, and the name on the library, big name on the library, was the Boski Library. And when Boski broke the law and went to jail, they took that name off. I don't know if they returned the money to him, but they weren't going to be displaying a name that was a Jew that essentially broke the law and went to jail. So I don't know, why don't we open that up a little bit and see how you guys feel when you see a Jew in the news that does inappropriate things. Just unmute yourself, and I'd love to hear what you guys think.
Rabbi, this is David. I cringe when that happens from the perspective of I wish it wasn't one of ours. And it's probably in anticipation of what kind of backlash might come from the public. I would agree with you, Bernie Madoff and some of these other financial scoundrels. I don't recall getting, feeling that the public was taking on the Jewish thing, but it always makes me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's Hilul Hashem, you're still feeling it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would second that, but I also have problems when some of the Jewish community does things that are against the law in general. For example, not following the COVID recommendations in certain communities, and I think that's difficult. I have problems with that just as much as I do somebody using economics inappropriately, because that even is sometimes even more anti-Semitic encouraging.
yeah, it opens up our community to criticism or worse. The thing about the COVID was in Williamsburg. It was a Hasidic community, very ultra-Orthodox community. And they all gathered for a Rebbe's, a prominent rabbi's funeral, shoulder to shoulder. To the Shiva and to davening in their synagogues. And lo and behold, dozens of people from that community got COVID, and it spreads. It spreads to the families. It spreads when you go to the grocery store, and that was a little bit outrageous. So I cringed as well, and the mayor didn't help anything by saying it's the Jewish community that's causing these problems, when it was just a little tiny portion of the Jewish community. But yeah, open things up to anti-Semitism. Yeah.
I think that probably in these stories, the fact that the people are Jewish isn't being brought out, as much as perhaps it used to be. So we all kind of know that that person is Jewish, but it's not necessarily in the article.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that has changed probably over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But we still are, a very vulnerable minority. Look how integrated we were in Germany, and look what happened so quickly,
Yeah.
So there's a reason for sensitivity here.
Yeah. Yeah. Things can turn bad with, not even seeing it coming. So yeah, I think you've got a good point there, Jay. Okay, so Mayim Ra'im, I told you, had to do with heresy. There was one modern commentator that said that this Mayim Chaim, this evil waters, was actually studying philosophy. And you can see sometimes the community, feeling threatened, but studying philosophy that might go contrary to an understanding of the Jewish community or the very Orthodox community can be a danger. And I think you see in some of the communities in New York or in Bnei Brak or somebody around in Israel, they don't watch TV, and that's and they don't have smartphones, and they have to stay away from all influences that could be out in general society. So this Yavetz, who's the commentator, sees even study of things that might go against the understanding of the community are forbidden. So that's a danger. That's a potential heresy. And obviously beyond that community, in the Jewish community, they don't see things that way. But in the ultra-Orthodox community, they're growing. And in the liberal community like ours, we're shrinking. So they're probably doing something right. But I think that all that they lose in terms of living in a modern world would be more than at least I would be able to tolerate. Okay, Chilul Hashem. That's a good one. That's an important one. So let's go to the 12th Mishnah, Hillel v'Shammai. Hillel and Shammai are very important in the Talmud and the Mishnah. We see them literally dozens of times. They were religious leaders in the time of King Herod the First, around 170 BCE. Critical time, the Hasmonean Empire died, that is Judah Maccabee and Mattathias and all of those, the ancestors of those guys. And they were leaders of the Jewish community, really kings, and there were some queens, and it turned out very sectarian and very bad as it went through history. So here the Hasmoneans are finished, and King Herod, led by Romans, took control. And that's the community that Hillel and Shammai lived in. So Hillel, interesting in the Mishnah, the text always goes according to the laws of Hillel. And Hillel and Shammai virtually every time contradict each other, right? They have a different view. And in the Talmud, various views are there, both the ones that will be followed and the ones that are rejected. But all of those ideas are retained in the Mishnah and in the Gemara, basically the Talmud. Hillel, as it says in the text, was a humble person, who was a kind person, who was an understanding person, and Shammai, who was a little bit more strict and harsh and more difficult to deal with for his disciples. So the text says, whenever Hillel and Shammai disagree with each other, you go according to the law of Hillel, just because of the kind of the nature and the personality of Hillel. There are a few arguments that Hillel actually wins, but almost every time when Hillel and Shammai argue with each other, because of Hillel's humility and kindness, the law goes according to Hillel. Okay, so here we don't have a disagreement. This is the Pirkei Avot, but if you go into the Talmud, they're disagreeing with each other constantly. Okay, so Hillel, what does he say? Hu haya omer naged shema aved shmei udala mosif yasef udalo yalef kitala chayav. Okay, so what is this? It says, hold on a second here. We are in Mishnah 12. Okay, so I read the wrong one. Hillel v'Shammai kiblu mehem. Hillel omer hevim mitalmidav shel Aharon. So this is the beginning of this Mishnah 12. It says, be like Aaron, because Ohev Shalom v'Rodev Shalom. Aaron was a person who loved peace between people, and he pursued peace among people. Aaron's an interesting figure. That's the brother of Moses, high priest. During the time of the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, you know that Moses went up on the mountaintop to get the tablets of the law. And the people down below were freaking out because Moses wasn't around. He seemed to be up there longer than he should have been. So the people thought, let's make a golden calf and we'll worship the calf and he'll be our God and take care of us. And Aaron, wanting to keep the peace among the people, helped in the building of the golden calf. So he was seeking peace, even though he knew this was idolatry and that the people would be punished. He wanted to keep the people from rebelling, so he helped with the golden calf. So he has a reputation in the Bible and in rabbinic literature of being a lover of peace and a pursuer of peace. Now, I wanted to read you something from this book. I hope you can see it, about Aaron and his understanding and the rabbinic understanding of peace. Let me just get to the, okay. So Aaron is Ohev Shalom v'Rodev Shalom, loving peace and pursuing peace. So in Malachi, one of the prophets in the middle part of the Bible, recounts Aaron's superb qualities. The law of truth was in his mouth, and injustice was not found on his lips. He walked with me, God, in peace and uprightness, and turned many away from sin. All right, so already Aaron is starting to get some very good press in the Bible, and already with the prophet Malachi, it already is praising Aaron for his superb qualities. Now let me just read you something else as well. When Aaron saw two people at odds with each other, he would approach each one separately, without the other one's knowledge and say, why are you fighting with your friend? He begged me to approach you and arrange a reconciliation. All right, that's not true. All right, the friend didn't do that, but Aaron stretches the truth a little bit to make peace between two friends. He begged me to approach you and arrange a reconciliation. With this tactic, Aaron was able to bring about peace between the two people. Similarly, if a man and his wife were experiencing marital strife, Aaron would even allow himself to be degraded in order to restore harmony between them. If a man in a moment of anger told his wife, I forbid you from deriving any pleasure from me until you spit in the eye of the Kohen Gadol. I'm not going to touch you until forever, because no one's going to spit in the eye of the Kohen Gadol. Aaron would approach the woman and say that he was suffering from an eye ailment. He asked her to spit in his eye, as if her saliva had some medicinal value. Thus, he was able to reinvigorate the couple's faltering relationship because the wife was able to spit in somebody's eye. So that's Aaron for you. A very interesting person. Here's another one. Shmuel notes that the Mishnah does not directly instruct one to be a lover of peace because the definition of the word is so elusive. Even most contentious people will rationalize that he is the lover of peace and his opponents are its enemies. Therefore, the Mishnah provides us with an objective standard. We should be among the disciples of Aaron and should strive to become the type of peace lover that he was by actively working to promote peace. So Rodef Shalom is pursuing peace, not just loving peace, but pursuing it, doing something active and affirmative and positive to make peace between two people. It's an active verb, Rodef Shalom. Maharal comments that peace is achieved when the various segments of a society or group complement each other and form a harmonious whole. But this type of harmony is difficult to achieve since our world is inherently one of disparity. Contentiousness is so natural in this world that at the very beginning of history, strife erupted between Cain and Abel. Therefore, one must actively pursue peace as one pursues a rare commodity. And if you think about that now, right, the way the people in this country are and their divisions, their divisiveness, and their criticism of people that don't agree with them, it's terrible in this country right now. And the virus is probably going to pull us apart yet even more, because some say it's safe to go out and let's start the economy, and others say that's going to spike the number of cases and we can't do that. So look, there's a machloket, there's a difference of opinion here, and it's not because you have a different opinion than me. It's okay. We have different opinions. We still love each other. We're friends. But today it's nothing like that. If you disagree with me, you are the enemy. You are my enemy and foe because you don't agree with the way I look at the world. I mean, it's terrible in this country. And it's not in this country. It's in other countries as well in the Western world. So the Mishnah is saying, don't accept that as the status quo. You've got to change that. Not just love peace, but actually go out and pursue it actively. And because only that way will possibly peace come to the world. Okay, let's take a look a little farther. Ohev et habriot umekarvan leTorah. Love people. Briot is people, mankind, people. Love people and bring them close to the Torah. Now, Aaron did this, and that's how we understand him. If there was a sinner, for example, Aaron would confront that person and perhaps bring that person back to Torah. Right? If you're Aaron's friend and you're doing something wrong, Aaron, high priest, comes to talk to you, you're embarrassed, you are feeling bad about yourself, maybe you'll come back to the ways of peace and the ways of Jewish law and ethics. That's what Aaron did. And I had mentioned this before, that those people who are doing evil, I think they suffer in a certain way because, I don't know, unless they're a sociopath, they've got some conscience and they know they're doing something that's wrong or illegal. And in a sense, they don't feel right about themselves. Well, Aaron was able to come and give tochecha, which means come and bring a rebuke. What you're doing is wrong. You have to return to the proper path of behavior. And when somebody like Aaron does that, it makes a difference. That tshuva, repentance, is possible. And that was what made Aaron so incredible, right? Bringing people back to truth, bringing people back to ethical behavior, healing divisiveness by pursuing peace, and making a difference in the world in that way. And we can all do that. We can all try to bring people together, even if they have different opinions, that there's pluralism in this world and in this country. A difference of opinion is still acceptable. It should be acceptable. And I think, I don't know, the way we are right now is just not a place to be. And it's not Rodef Shalom, and it just makes us feel bad and look bad. Yom Kippur, somebody that's going astray, and Aaron has a place in this person's life. So the person says, how can I be living like this, living kind of a lie? I need repentance, particularly on Yom Kippur. It's possible I can come back to live the right way. And God knows that we can, when we're good and when we're true. On Yom Kippur, it's kind of settled out. Are we going to make a change in our lives? Or are we going to leave the synagogue after Ne'ilah is over and just carry on as we typically do? The idea is that tshuva, repentance, can make a difference, and it's the way that Aaron would bring diverse and divided people together. And it's a role model for all of us. Be like Aaron, that's what it says. Be like Aaron. Heve mitalmidav shel Aharon. Be like the disciples of Aaron, the students of Aaron. Ohev shalom v'rodef shalom. Love peace and pursue peace. Okay, let's open it up again and see what people, questions that you might have or comments on this Mishnah.
I have I guess a question first. Going through Pirkei Avot, do we take this literally as it pertains to the time it was developed and written, or can we seriously bring this forward into the centuries after the rabbis wrote the Pirkei Avot or the Talmud for that matter? Because some sections are really inapplicable to what's going on now, and we've talked about those in the past. But some like this is very applicable. I mean, pursuing peace, you can go to what's going on in the Middle East and say, we want peace, but you can't just want it, you got to pursue it. And you got to make compromises and you got to do things in order to get it. To bring peace to the society we were living in, you have to make compromises, and our leaders have to say, okay, let me listen to both sides of the stories and try to develop an answer to a solution to the problems, which will hopefully bring peace. Yitzhak Rabin wanted to do things in his way, and what happened to him, we all know, he got killed by a Jewish person. So how do we take all this and bring this into our current situation?
Well, I think this is very applicable for today. We can see it, not just in the Middle East. I'm talking about Washington. I'm talking about, the state of Colorado. People are so divisive today and do not pursue peace, just the opposite. They pursue divisiveness. But I think it's applicable to all around the world. In Congress, we talked about our leadership before. The idea there, it's the way the founding fathers set it up. There's going to be significant disagreement And there's going to be disagreement with the administrative branch, with the president, with, I don't know, with the courts. And it's set up for disagreement. It's not set up for seeing others as evil. Now, that's not to say that the founding fathers were all great people. And they all had their issues and their problems as well. But the idea was that there would be compromise. You know, you're not going to get everything you want. I'm not going to get everything I want. But there's a way to move forward and to govern this country and to pass laws that help people instead of, destroying relationships. So I think it's very appropriate for today. Many of these Mishnayot in Pirkei Avot are very applicable today. This certainly is one of them. And, again, according to the text, we can be better than we are. We can pursue peace if we approach our disagreements appropriately. So I don't know if that answered your question, Harold.
Yeah, I think that I guess what I'm saying is that you can pick and choose which of these Mishnayot are applicable and which aren't. And I suppose the ones when we talked about not speaking to your wife or a woman may not be applicable for some of us today, although in some communities maybe it would. I mean, this one is very applicable, I think. If you use Aaron as an analogy of somebody who tries to pursue peace by doing certain things and extend it to those that we respect, then yes, it's very applicable to today. So, I guess we can pick and choose which Mishnayot we want to agree with or disagree with, and then move on from there. But this one is very applicable if you look at it from a current standpoint and extend the analogy to Aaron's personality and using Torah as the guide to loving mankind and pursuing peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. Not talking to women is probably problematic in our day and age. But pursuing,
okay.
yeah, I don't think anybody's going to get away with that. So pursuing peace, obviously, very, very much important and applicable for today.
And we also need to realize that there are people who are pursuing peace, but they're just doing it the wrong way, which is what's going to lead to even more issues in the future. I mean, just because something sounds good doesn't mean that it is good. And just because it brings peace maybe in the moment doesn't mean that it's gonna stay peaceful. So I think we need to really be cautious of what we're doing so that we can do things in a way that is gonna be more peaceful in the long run. Mm-hmm. But I mean, nowadays, even I've been reading articles about people that just seem to want to, I mean, they say it's free speech, but it's not really true because people don't even want to hear the other side anymore. They're just like, you can talk as long as you agree with this. Mm-hmm. And that alone right there is not pursuing peace.
Right. It's a big problem. I agree with you, Bianca, that that's the way we're handling things today. And it's not helpful, and it continues to be divisive, and it hurts us as a society. So I know there's two other people. I want open the floor to Jay and then to David.
Well, what I like about Pirkei Avot is it's kind of putting these principles down to little nuggets about how to live. You know, it's really, I think it's very helpful day to day. And obviously there are passages like the one about not talking to women and so on that you know, have no literal value anymore, but even those can be used as an analogy for other circumstances. But I love the fact that it's very practical, and human nature, even though we like to think that human nature has changed, I'm not so sure that it's changed. I don't think we're better people now than 2,000 years ago. And I think the same issues come up, and Pirkei Avot is trying to give us solutions. And most of the times they're pretty wise sayings or pretty wise principles that I think apply more than most of what I read in the Torah. You know, I know it applies, but I'm just saying it's something much more direct and useful every day than you know, what kind of sacrifice that we're supposed to make in certain circumstances. I mean, for a ridiculous example.
Yeah. Agreed. Excellent. David?
So I have a question specific to this Mishnah, and that is that Aaron is obviously held in the highest esteem to talk about peace and so on. But I'm curious that how does one reconcile that level of esteem with the golden calf?
Yeah. It's true. They're definitely looking on the good side of Aaron and giving him, you know, the benefit of the doubt. Moses came down and spoke with Aaron. He said, "What did you do?" And he said, "Well, you know, we put this stuff in the fire and the calf came out." So like not even taking responsibility for what he was doing as leader of the people when Moses was up on the mountain. So, I mean, the rabbinic literature just gives him a break. Oh, you saw that in the prophet Malachi as well. Kind of gives him a break, sees only the good side of Aaron. You know, if Aaron was like this or not, it's almost not important to the rabbis because they wanted a role model. So the whole golden calf thing, they're not looking at that. They're not considering that. They're just trying to create a role model of somebody that pursues peace. So they single out Aaron just because he was trying to keep peace amongst the people with the golden calf, and then other things he did in biblical times. And they kind of picked him out and they exaggerated a little bit. He's not exactly the road of Shalom. Wouldn't go that far, but the rabbis will exaggerate. They'll pick a role model and they'll kind of stick with it. Also, they do the same thing with Abraham, right? With Abraham, who sold his, you know, kind of sister to his wife to the Pharaoh and to the priest, lest he be killed by the Pharaohs. I mean, he's, you know, selling out his wife. Doesn't look like he's a perfect kind of guy. But the rabbis see him as perfect. They say that he went through 10 trials, he went through it successfully, and he is a perfect man. Whereas we'll look at the text and go, what? Perfect? Sold out his wife? So the rabbis, you know, they take things and they exaggerate things just to make a point. And they seize these potential role models and they make them into perfect people. No, we see it around in rabbinic literature. It's not surprising.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys, anything else? What is today? Thursday? Yeah. So we'll meet again on Tuesday. All these days are running together in my mind, probably in yours as well. But good. Thank you guys for coming.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time.
All right.